crafty friends. My name is Jessica, and here we turn blank canvases into handmade magic. So let's get started. Today's card is part of the Heart to Heart release with Simon Says Stamp for January 2026. I've got a couple items from that release, the Hey Girl die that you saw, and that beautiful floral stamp set. But we're going to also incorporate this snowflake embossing folder. This is me trying to be one with the snow. I live in a very cold climate in Michigan, and current snow is on the ground. So I'm trying to embrace it, but also bring a little bit of fun to it. So I grabbed my Distress watercolor pencils. This is sets 1 through 3. And I remember seeing a content creator do this kind of technique in the years past when these watercolor pencils first came out. I can't be for sure, but I feel like it was Jen Shirkus, where she drew right onto the watercolor paper and then kind of did this wash over the top of it. This worked okay. I was not happy with the saturation of the color, so I went ahead and did my kind of my fall proof method. I love dipping my watercolor pencils right into the water, letting them sit for just a little bit so that that pigment kind of gets really saturated, and then I'm drawing it right onto the paper as it's wet, and then using the brush to kind of smooth out any of the little chunks that might be accumulating for the pigment there. So I went ahead and dried the panel off camera, and here's a great shot of it up close. It's a little bit more vibrant than it was originally when I just drew the pencils right to the paper, and I really liked that. But we went for a little rainbow theme. Now I'm going to go ahead and stack these die cuts up. This is a really unique die in the fact that it is 3 pieces. It's the hey and the g of the girl, and then a comma as well as the remaining letters for girl. Typically my favorite kind of die cut is when it's all combined together, because there's not a lot of alignment that needs to happen, especially if you're using that shadow layer. But this one wasn't too bad. A little bit hard to glue those little commas together, but I think you could probably also leave them off. Of course, I do like the emphasis that they put on this saying with that like, hey girl, kind of tone, but you could have probably left them off if it's hard for you to kind of glue them together. Another tip to kind of help is maybe using one of the sticky mats to place that first comma down on it, and then build your commas on top as you're gluing them so that it's stuck to that sticky mat, and you don't have the wiggling that might occur if maybe you have a hard time nimbly with your fingers trying to put those together. Of course, I thought about that right now and not during the video, but it wasn't too bad. But they are pretty small, so if you need the extra little help, I would recommend using some kind of sticky surface to put that first comma down and then kind of build them up that way. So again, I'm using my acrylic blocks for the one thing that they're probably not meant to do, but to adhere those die cuts and put pressure down for gluing. They are such a workhorse in my craft room. They are used on almost every single card, and it's not for stamping. I decided I wanted a nice little border on this panel, so I am trimming it down. I trimmed down 1/4 of an inch on each side, but my blade's getting a little bit dull, and my watercolor paper, while I did dry it, is probably still a little damp, and because of that we got a little bit of fuzzies. So I just used my Tim Holtz long bladed scissors. I don't know what they're called, but they're really long, to trim off those little fuzzes that I had. So we did trim that down to 5 1/4 by 4, just to create that nice little border. Now I did that because the sentiment is white, and I thought that that would help kind of balance it out. And we're going to go ahead and add some splatter. This is the Simon Says Stamp new splatter medium in the color gold. It's really fun to play with. I'm loving the warmth of this gold. I've got a couple golds in my repertoire, and this one's definitely more on the warm side, which is, if you watch my videos, I tend to gravitate towards a more warm gold versus like a brassy gold. And so that is it's a very welcome splatter medium into my craft room. Now, something I didn't mention, but at the beginning of the video, I just want to let you know that I did receive the Hey Girl die and that floral stamp set because I am a part of the Simon Says Stamp designer family. So they were sent to me in order to create. I'd just like to make everybody aware of that so that you know that I did not purchase these items. They were gifted to me and asked for me to create with them. Of course I did, because they are really fun little additions to my craft room. Now, because we used watercolor paper, I am going to go ahead and use a liquid glue to adhere this to my card panel. Just gives it a little extra structure and adherence to that paper when it's been manipulated with all of the water to create this beautiful wash. It just helps make sure that that cardstock is going to adhere to the card base. Now, while my acrylic blocks are doing all of the magic in the craft room, I'm going to look at these sentiments and trying to determine what one I want to include. Now, this set is new with the heart to heart release. I do not use the florals, but I'm really loving the scriptiness of these fonts. They go really well with this new Hey Girl die, with as far as they've got those little curly cues on the ends. I don't know if you would still consider these serifs, probably, because they're extending out past the structure of the letters. So I will say they're kind of more of like a flourish in my opinion, but the little flourishes match the Hey Girl die that we used earlier. So I went ahead and prepped my black cardstock with some anti-static powder, and then we're just using the clear embossing ink and white powder to finish off this sentiment. Once I have that powder on, we're going to go ahead and heat set that off camera. I use the Wagner heat tool. Absolutely love it. It's been one of those kind of creative purchases that I waited too long to purchase, and I'm so happy that I did. I've had it now. It's probably going on like 5 years maybe, and it's been another great workhorse in my craft room. I do not have the dies for this set, but I am sure that there are coordinating dies that will help assist cutting out these sentiments if I had to guess. I do not know that for sure, but I am not opposed to fussy cutting, so I'm going to go ahead and do a pretty easy, simple fussy cutting on this, just making sure that I'm kind of having a same thickness border around all of the lettering, and just noting that some of those letters stick up a little bit higher, and so you want to make sure that you're continuing that width around those letters that are going up a little bit higher. And also, when you have letters that are all the same, I tend to just kind of wiggle my scissors and wiggle the paper a little bit, because it just makes it look a little bit more organic, especially when you're rounding the corners of your sentiment, to include a little bit of a wiggle, in my opinion, so that it doesn't look like it's a straight line and then curved edges, unless that's the look that you're going for. So I tend to wiggle a little bit when I have these longer sentiments where the lettering's all the same size, just to kind of give it a little bit more character. Now I'm being really particular around the edges. I got them a little too sharp or square. And because I made it a little bit more of a rounded trimming around the other letters, I just needed to make sure that they were a little more curvy versus that sharp edge. So now comes my favorite part of the card making, the fussiness that I do trying to figure out what layout and where I want to put everything. This is something that it's a feeling I have, my crafty feng shui, I guess. So I kind of just like wait until it feels right to me, and then that's when I know that it needs to go there. So it's really hard to explain, but that's just how I process this. So I did go ahead and glue down that main die cut. And then when I thought about making this card, I knew I wanted to add this thin font or the sentiment over the top of this Hey Girl here in the middle. And in order to do that, because I built this die cut up, the Hey Girl die cut, I'm going to add a little bit of foam on the outside and then the glue in the middle, just to help kind of make that sentiment the same level and to give it a little extra support. If I hadn't have added on that foam tape, then it probably would have not adhered to the card, or it would have looked a little off because it was different heights. Again, acrylic blocks for the win, doing the thing that they do best. And of course, we're going to add our shimmering glitter pretties. I'm looking at doing either these dazzling gems or these flat kind of coin sequins. I decided to go with these more of a coin kind of feel sequence. I felt like those golds kind of matched a little bit better with the splatter. When adding these additional embellishments, I like to kind of lean more heavily on the rule of odds. So I did put the 3 down and felt like it needed a little bit more, so I went ahead and we're adding 5. This is a great sequin mix because it has those 3 different sizes. When I'm looking at sequin mixes, that's kind of the ratio that I'm hoping to achieve, to have at least 3 different sizes. And I'm going to glue these down, and that's the card for today. Thank you so much for watching. From a blank canvas to handmade magic, I hope this project inspired you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next creative session. Happy crafting!